Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. Rosemary Barton is going to save the country live right here. Quebec separatism, Alberta separating. What is going on? Let's unite as a country. Rosemary Barton is the chick that's going to bring us all together. Let's see what CBC, propaganda, liberal agendas can do to bring us together. Let's unite.
There is clearly a sentiment by some Albertans that they don't see themselves in the Federation. But we also have to be careful because we have a very strong separatist movement in Quebec. Using a solution that failed before, we're trying to appease separatist movement in part of the country by fueling them in another part of the country.
That's Quebec Liberal MP Stephen Guilbeault, former cabinet minister, from our conversation earlier, laying bare his warning to his own party leader on the risks to the Canadian Federation. How serious is the risk to the government from Quebec, and has a possible pipeline satisfied critics in Alberta? Let's bring in our Sunday Scrum. Sherelle Evelyn, the managing editor of the Hill Times. Catherine Levesque is a parliamentary reporter for the National Post, and Tonda McCharles is the Ottawa bureau chief for the Toronto Star. All of us in Ottawa this morning. Nice to see you all again. I want to talk about the Opposition Day motion that is going to be heard this week as well, that is also about pipelines. But Catherine, let me start with you about Stephen Guilbeault's comments that what the government was intending to do to try and deal with Alberta has, in his view, increased separatist sentiments in Quebec because it also has meant the rollback of a lot of climate initiatives. What did you make of this take by the former minister, and how serious could it be?
I think it was a little premature to make that statement right away. Just to give you an idea, the discourse against Ottawa this week, and certainly from the separatist movement, was more focused on Mark Miller and his comments about the decline of the French language. And he said he was tired of the debate being so political. So, there really wasn't that much talk about the pipeline in Alberta. The other caveat I would add to Mr. Guilbeault's comments is that I think a lot of Quebecers, have known for a very long time that actually the federal government is going to be pro-pipeline. Like the MOU in Alberta was not really news to them. Certainly when the federal government bought the TMX pipeline, I think they knew right there and then that is contrary to a lot of Quebecers' values. And what I would also say is that certainly. Like last time, the Alberta, they lost a lot of seats in Alberta. I think we might see some seats lost in Quebec, but sorry. I remembered what I meant to say.
Yes,
I think to Mr. Guilbeault's point, it's been a long year, guys. To Mr. Guilbeault's point, I think it is fueling the sentiment that that Ottawa could go against the provinces, certainly because they signed this MOU with Alberta against British Columbia's wishes. And so there is a sentiment that, maybe something like that could happen in Quebec. And I know that's something that the Bloc Québécois has been pushing and has even connected with British Columbia's government over that.
Yeah, I mean, it is probably too soon to know for sure, but there's lots of context inside Quebec, Tonda. The PQ surging in the polls, likely to form government in the next election if things keep on the same track. So Mr. Guilbeault, I think, was sort of just sounding the alarm about how this could appear to Quebec. I don't know how real it is and whether that's something that the Liberals need to be concerned about politically.
I mean, I think where I would disagree with Mr. Guilbeault's characterization of it, he seemed to suggest in that one comment about that the effort in Alberta was bent on fueling separatism in Quebec. And I don't think anyone is convinced of that. To Catherine's point, yes, it's been a long year. But I think what's looming is a pretty big year in Quebec politics that the country, and I think the Liberal government, has yet to really focus on and pay attention to. And that is the potential and likely election of a Parti Québécois government promising a referendum on separation in the next mandate. So, look, that's something that there are some Liberals within Carney's government who believe that they haven't paid enough attention to. And yes, I've heard the same thing you have as well, Rosemary, that, the Carney government, and Carney in particular, was quite worried about the rise of a separatist sentiment in his home province, his native, where he grew up anyway, of Alberta. But, it's hard to sort of really understand in the context of the pipeline debate, which faction in Alberta is going to hold the day. Look, the polls are showing that this is going over, and it's early days. This is going over well in Alberta. It's going over well across the country because of the economic threat that the country is facing. And that so far, at least, and this could change depending on how vehement the opposition is among Indigenous communities and in BC. But a majority, there's more people across the country in all regions basically that support it, or the idea of building something that protects Canada, than there is against it at this stage. So look, I think that is the pipeline project, or the notion of a pipeline, because we don't actually have a project proposal yet, fueling something? I think what we have to say, it comes against a backdrop of concerns regionally about whether their interests and values are being protected.
Yeah, and Sherelle, is it good to go to you? And because your home province, BC, feels now, its own sense of upset. And I'm not saying there's separatist sentiment there, but it's almost, this is the difficulty in running the country, is you can displace and upset people from one region to another based on what's wanted. So it's hard to know whether this has helped or hurt the issue that the Prime Minister seemed concerned with.
Yeah, I do believe that there's always going to be a component and a contingent of people who are going to be unhappy, regardless of the outcome. I think that's very clear. Even I know you said we were going to talk about the Conservatives' motion, and even just within that, it kind of seems like it's inherently contradictory. Talking about do we support this pipeline while respecting the duty to consult that we have with Indigenous peoples? And that's how can you unequivocally support something if once you've consulted and found vehement opposition? It's kind of always going to be something for somebody. And even with Alberta, what we were seeing, with the UCP not being overly happy. Alberta's always going to have Ottawa as a scapegoat for something. And if it's not energy, it's going to be something else. It could be the notwithstanding clause. It could be, all kinds of things. So there's always going to be some reason that somebody in some portion of the country is going to be unhappy, just because that is how our federal system is set up.
So Catherine, let's talk a little bit about that Conservative motion, then, Opposition Day motion, which is about wanting to demonstrate support for the energy sector, but is also perhaps more about putting the cat amongst the pigeon and trying to to flesh out whether Liberals have a problem inside caucus that goes beyond Stephen Guilbeault.
Absolutely. I think they really want to, as they have done for many other subjects, they really want to put on the record which Liberal MPs actually support this MOU and which do not. I know on social media they have been tagging specific MPs who have actually been very vocal against this MOU. But at the same time, I would also say this comes maybe with an opportunity for Liberal MPs to maybe, tell their voters, look, I'm against this project or I'm for this project. Yeah. And it's not I don't think it'll be a huge surprise to us either, who votes against this or with this project. We know that, for instance, the Liberal MPs in the Surrey area, they are in favor of a pipeline, and, some others, I know Will Graves, Talib Noor Mohammed, they have been pretty vocal against this potential pipeline. So, look, again, it's always political. This is, it's meant to be a trap, but at the same time, I think it'll be an opportunity to clear the air.
Last 30 seconds or so to you, Tonda, on that motion.
I think that motion is a lot of mischief making on behalf of the Conservatives, and good on them. That's what politics is all about. They're trying to wedge the Liberals, expose divisions. There are some also divisions within the Conservative caucus over whether or not everybody supports tougher industrial carbon pricing, and the leader doesn't. So look, lots of mischief to be made in Parliament over this. I'm interested to see whether the Liberals whip the vote. So far, they haven't answered my question on that.
Okay, Sherelle Evelyn, Catherine Levesque, Tonda McCharles. Catherine, we all agree with you. It has been a very long year, and I probably won't see you now till next year. So enjoy your holidays and your break. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
We'll wrap it up right there, gang. Aaron Kennedy, Looney, Rosemary Barton, are you going to save the country, or are you going to divide us with more Liberal propaganda, their foolish agenda? Do your job. Be a journalist. Don't sell out to the CBC hacks. Rosemary, we're begging. Anyhow, Aaron, Kennedy, and Looney, thank you all for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Ciao for now.